everyone, and Kuzuzampo. Welcome to another episode of our podcast series, Preparing for Bhutan, where we delve into more important topics like HIV and AIDS, PrEP, which is also known as pre-exposure prophylaxis, and the impact on the LGBTQ plus community here in Bhutan. This series is proudly presented to you by Queer Voices of Bhutan in collaboration with Save the Children and the SKPA program as part of our shared mission to raise awareness, promote inclusivity, and empower communities. I am your host, Regita. Today I'm really excited because I have a very dear friend of mine as the guest speaker, Thinley Reychung, commonly or popularly known as Ray. So welcome to the show, Ray. Thank you for giving us your time.
Thank you for inviting me.
So Ray is the board member for Queer Voices of Bhutan and also a final year student at a university here in Bhutan. But from what I also know, Ray is also one of the first Bhutanese individuals to try out PrEP while they were in Canada. So with Bhutan preparing to roll out PrEP at a bigger scale, I think it's important that we also try to understand through the experiences of people like Ray who have done this before it even happened in Bhutan. So in this episode, we'll uncover the importance of PrEP, its role in prevention and protection from HIV and AIDS for the LGBTQ plus community. So yeah, sit back, stay tuned, and come with us on this learning journey with Ray. So yes, Ray, hi.
Hi.
Before we start more about PrEP and all of that, I think it's important that our audience gets to know more about you. So if you could tell us a bit about you and how was your life in Canada as a student who was trying to understand what was PrEP and how did you even come to find out about PrEP while you were there?
So hi, as Regita mentioned, I'm Ray. My full name is Thinley Reychung Dorji, but yeah, I go by Ray. And I was in Canada for I think 4 years. And I was doing my undergrad there, but then I decided that I didn't want to study anymore. So here I am. And while I was in Canada, I was actually informed by my friend. He was like, "Hey, did you know PrEP is free?" And I was like, "What's PrEP, first of all?" And and then he told me that PrEP was something you take in order for you to not get HIV. So I was like, "Wow, that sounds really good." I didn't even know we had that. So it was very eye-opening for me that we had a pill that would just, prevent us from getting HIV. So that was like very eye-opening for me, and I was like, "Wow." So, and he was like, "Yeah, it's free," and it came under the insurance. So he was like, "Yo, you should try it out," and I did. Even though I wasn't sexually active at the time, I was like, you know what? It seems really, it seems like an incentive actually. So I was like, why not? If things do pop up from time to time, I was like, I'm prepared to face this challenge. So I was like, so my friend recommended me to a health counselor there, and then she told me it was very easy. I just need to get tested, and that's how I got into it. It was very simple. The process was similar to Bhutan, where you would have to go to a counselor, and they would recommend it to you. They would recommend you to a physician, and you would have to get a doctor's note, and then basically every month you get a refill. So basically, so 30 pills for 1 day each. So it was very nice. It was pretty simple.
Yeah, I think it was very simple. And the way you're talking about it, it seems like, at least in Canada where you were studying, it was a very normalized conversation, and your friends introduced PrEP to you, and it became a really gradual but a smooth process. But you know how in Bhutan, PrEP is a new concept, right? And HIV has its own stigma and myth. So I think people are still very hesitant or don't know enough to even, think about getting PrEP. So if you could also tell us, how did you also assess your personal risk for HIV? Because that's something that I think people here in Bhutan are trying to configure themselves, if they should, how do they even assess themselves for HIV in the very first place?
Well, I think when I was in Canada, I wasn't really assessing whether I should be taking it or not. It sounded cool for me. So I was like, maybe I should be getting on PrEP because it sounds cool, right? But now that I've, I think, grown a bit and now that I've matured a bit, I think now I would probably think am I at risk for contracting HIV? And that could be usually having casual sex with multiple partners, right? I'm not currently doing that. So I'm not on PrEP right now. So if you're saying, if you might be thinking, is he on PrEP right now? No, well, no, because I have a steady partner, and I think it's definitely your own. You have to be the gauge yourself, right? You have to be your own master in this kind of situation. No one can force you to take PrEP, but then you must think to yourself sometimes, hey, am I at risk for getting HIV? And if you think you are, then it might be nice to talk to a counselor or talk to someone close to you and be like, hey, do you think I should be getting on PrEP? Because if you're thinking that, I think you should be getting on PrEP, to be honest. And for me, since I'm not engaged in those behaviors currently, so I don't think that's why I didn't get on PrEP this time. But I think in the future, if I do feel like I'm at risk again, I will definitely be getting on PrEP.
Yeah, I mean, a very good answer. And like you mentioned, of course, you can always assess yourself, but if not, you can always reach out to a counselor.
Exactly.
And in Bhutan now, they have made it so much easier to reach out to a professional for any kind of guidance and support, even in trying to understand if you should be getting it, right? So, of course, you can always, I mean, you know yourself the best, you know your habits the best, but if you're not able to assess yourself enough, you can always reach out to a professional for help and support. So yeah, I mean, it seems like, again, Ray, the way you talk about PrEP and how you even got it in Canada, again, it seems very smooth, but I wonder if there were any kind of hesitation or, you know, if you had any like kind of concerns before you even got it, because at the end of the day, it is still something to do with HIV, and that also globally has its own, I think, image that is oftentimes, you know, tabooed, right? So how did you navigate that?
I think for me, the risk of contracting HIV was far more greater than me taking PrEP. For personally, I think for some people, like, I think I'm privileged in the sense that I don't have to worry about, oh, if people see me with PrEP, what would they think about me? I don't have that, you know, situation. So I feel like for me, I would rather not have gotten HIV.
But however, I'm sure as a Bhutanese, like you mentioned, you know, PrEP was relatively new to you as well. So I'm sure you had your own, like, you know, decision-making, I think, procedure, right? So how did you assess your own personal risk to HIV when you were trying to, you know, decide if you should take PrEP? And, you know, what other factors influence you in your decision?
For me personally, I think the risk of me, you know, getting HIV was far more than, you know, me getting caught with PrEP. So I always wanted to try it. Once I got introduced to it, I was like, you know what? I was on board like really quick. And I didn't really think about the why should I be taking this, because in my head, if I didn't get HIV, that was a plus, you know. And I didn't see the downsides for it. So I thought, you know, I wasn't sexually active at that time as much, so I thought, like, you know, in the future, if it does occur, I'll be ready, I'll be prepared.
Prevention is
Yeah.
better than cure.
Prevention is better than cure. So in my head, I was like, you know, I'd rather be safe than sorry. So I literally hopped on. But I think for you, if you're planning to get on PrEP, I think definitely you need to think of like, am I engaging in risky behavior? Do you have multiple sexual partners, casual partners, and, you know, do you switch around, you know, like, are you basically like, if you have a steady partner, it's fine. I think you don't have to take PrEP necessarily, but it's always nice to take PrEP, because I think there are relationships where your partner could have HIV and you don't. So to prevent that, there are relationships like that where you take PrEP, but then I feel like at the end of the day, like, if you engage in risky behavior, I think it's always better to be safe than sorry, because at the end of the day, who wants to get HIV, right? It's better to be safe, I would say. That's why I think in 2024, for me, I think if I were to engage in risky behavior, I would definitely be taking PrEP.
I mean, yeah, I think you said it really nicely when you said the risk of getting HIV outweighed, you know, the fear of any side effect that PrEP might have.
Exactly.
Right? And that's incredible, because I'm sure you were, what, like 19, 20?
I think I was 20 at that time.
So at the age of 20, you were so, I think, wise and smart enough to know that this is something good for you, right? But I'm sure, again, as a Bhutanese, being in another country where this is, again, a new information to you, I'm sure you might have faced some sort of, like, I don't know, personal hesitation, if there were any, or were there any other challenges that, you know, you had to address while trying to decide if you should take PrEP?
I think at the end of the day, I think it's just logical for me to take it. I think even if it makes me a bit sick, because I think, the benefit outweighs the cons, right? So for me, I think, and as a Bhutanese, I feel like I wasn't, like, I think my parents always told me not to take medicine, like, lightly. So even when my mom, even right now, even when I fall sick, she doesn't let me take PCM much. I take it, but then she says, don't take it so much, right? So I think growing up in Bhutan, I did have that notion that, you know, taking medicine was bad. But then I think for me, once I got there, and I was like, you know, my friend was like saying, you know, it's fine, you know, like, you can stop at any time, you know. So that's why I think that's what reassured me, and I was like, you know what, I will.
I really do appreciate you bringing out this very common, I guess, practice or misconception in Bhutan around medicine, right, where we fear it so much. But I think regarding something as important as PrEP, the I think benefits do outweigh the cons. I think if we can move on to the next, again, earlier you mentioned that you simply had to go get a note from a doctor, a medical note, and you could get it over the counter, it seems, right? So how was this experience, discussing and trying to navigate taking PrEP with these medical or healthcare providers in Canada, and did you feel supported during that process?
Yeah, I feel like it was a very easy process. Like, as I just went with my friend one day, and then we went to our local health, like in BHU, right? Like Bhutanese Health Unit. Basically, we had that in Canada, so it was like we didn't go to the hospital directly. It was like a small, like basically like HIC, right? Basically, it's like they counsel you about like anything. If you want to go to get tested, it was called the clinic, basically. So we went there. And it was a very clean process. They were like, hey, so what are you in for? So usually you'd go in for testing, you'd go in for like other services, right? So I went there for PrEP, and they were like, sit down, and then they talked me through what to do, what not to do, when to take it. Like basically, they talked me through the whole process, right? They told me, you have to get tested first, because if you already have HIV, then you can't take PrEP. So basically, I got tested, and once my results were negative, they sat me down, they walked me through the process, and it was very clean and simple. And then by the end of the day, I had a bottle of PrEP. So it's very simple.
Can I ask a follow-up question to that?
Yes.
Were the health care providers kind, nice, extra nice? How were their, I think, demeanor, when they were interacting with you?
I think she was like a nice old lady nurse. She was really nice. I would say, like, I think people could have negative experiences, but for me, she was really nice, and she explained, please be careful while you take this, like you can't miss it, and then even if you do miss it, you have to like take precautions. So she was very nice and like explained really well. So I think that's why I even took PrEP. It was like really, like I knew that if I went back to the clinic to get a refill, she'd always be there, and that it'd be a nice experience. I think if you have a bad experience at the clinic, then obviously you would feel a bit like hesitant, but I think that's healthcare providers definitely do make the scene. They set the scene up.
Yes. I asked you this question because, again, like you mentioned, healthcare providers do set up the scene, right, for you to even make these very big decisions. And I think what the healthcare provider in Canada had in common was that they made you feel comfortable.
Exactly.
And I think that's the goal for our community members here in Bhutan too. With this rollout of PrEP at a very big scale in the country, it is a new concept, so people have their fear, a lot of questions and curiosity. So everyone should be welcomed to ask those questions and to be walked through it very comfortably. So hopefully, I think in the recent months, there's been a lot of work around it done by all the stakeholders for the PrEP program that in a way is trying to ensure that the healthcare service providers who are trying to get in touch with the community members in the process of getting PrEP, they are very much accessible, kind, they make it comfortable, the process. So hopefully like that also reduces the fear amongst those who are trying to take PrEP, so yes. That brings us to an end of a very insightful conversation with Ray. A huge thank you to you for sharing your personal experience and helping us better understand, the importance of PrEP for prevention of HIV as well as liberation of your own self. As we gear up for the roll-up of PrEP in Bhutan, it's important that we continue to dispel myths, raise awareness and empower communities. So with that, I really do hope that everyone watching and listening to us, we're able to learn a lot from this particular episode. And thank you for joining. Stay tuned for more exciting, informative educational episodes going forward. And yeah, until next time, take care, stay educated, stay informed, and stay empowered.